There was a time when speaking felt like standing for something. Not always intentionally, not always strongly, but words often carried a sense of me behind them. What I said felt connected to who I was. My opinions felt personal. My explanations felt like extensions of identity. Even casual speech had weight. But lately, that weight has softened. This episode is about what it's like to speak when words no longer need to represent you. For much of life, speech functions as representation. We talk to clarify where we stand, what we think, how we feel. Even when we're being casual, there's often an unspoken assumption that our words reflect us. This is my view. This is my experience. This is where I'm coming from. Speaking becomes a way of holding a position. But there may come a point when that position loosens. You still speak. You still respond. You still use language. But words don't feel like they're standing in for you anymore. They're just sounds forming meaning in a moment. At first, this can feel unsettling. If you're used to speech being personal, its impersonality can feel strange. You may wonder whether you've become detached, indifferent, or less invested. But nothing essential has gone missing. What's gone missing is representation. When you speak without representing yourself, words arise from the situation, not from identity. You're not expressing a stance. You're responding to what's happening. Someone asks a question, and an answer comes. Someone shares something, and words respond. There's no internal checking. You're not asking, is this what I believe? You're not asking, does this reflect me accurately? You're just speaking. This doesn't mean speech becomes careless or unconsidered. In fact, it often becomes more precise. When you're not defending a position, there's less distortion. You're not invested in being right. You're not invested in being consistent. You're present. You may notice that you're more willing to say, I don't know, not as a conclusion, but as a natural response. You're not required to fill silence with certainty. There's no pressure to have an answer ready. Words don't need to land anywhere. This changes the tone of conversation. You may speak more simply, less elaboration, less framing. You don't need to qualify every statement. You don't need to protect it from misunderstanding. If words are misunderstood, it doesn't feel personal. You clarify if it's helpful. You don't if it's not. Nothing is at stake. Speaking without representing yourself also softens disagreement. When someone disagrees with what you say, it doesn't feel like they're disagreeing with you. There's no reflex to defend. You may notice that you listen differently too. You're not listening to prepare your reply. You're listening without positioning. Conversation becomes less like an exchange of identities and more like a shared movement. This can feel surprisingly quiet. There's less internal narration, less awareness of how you sound, less concern about how you're perceived. You're not monitoring your speech in real time. This doesn't mean you stop caring about others. It means you're not managing yourself while caring. Words arise, do their work, and fall away. You don't carry them forward. This can feel freeing if you've spent a long time shaping your words carefully, choosing the right tone, the right phrasing, the right amount of explanation. You don't need to perform clarity. You don't need to ensure understanding. You don't need to make sure your inner world is visible. Speech becomes functional rather than expressive. And functional doesn't mean cold. It means appropriate. You speak when speech is needed. You're silent when it's not. Neither requires justification. This episode isn't about choosing silence over speech. Silence may arise. Speech may arise. Both are allowed. The difference is that neither is carrying identity. You're not using words to define yourself. This can also affect how you relate to storytelling. You may find yourself telling fewer personal stories or telling them differently, without embellishment, without explanation. You don't need the story to say something about who you are. It's just something that happened. You may notice that humor changes here too. Laughter arises without self-consciousness. You're not checking whether it fits your image. You're just responding. This can feel like a return to something simpler. Children speak like this naturally. They speak from the moment, not from a constructed sense of self. Over time, we learn to use speech to stabilize identity. When that stabilizing isn't needed anymore, speech relaxes. It becomes lighter. You may also notice that you're less inclined to speak when nothing needs to be said. Silence doesn't feel awkward. It doesn't need to be filled. You don't feel responsible for keeping conversation going. Presence is enough. This episode isn't about withdrawal. You're not pulling away from others. You're meeting them without the extra layer of self-representation. There's an ease in that. You're not trying to be known. You're not trying to be understood. You're here. Speaking without representing yourself doesn't mean your words lack meaning. They simply don't carry the burden of being you. They're just words. They come and go, and life continues. If you're listening to this and noticing that speech feels lighter lately, that you're less invested in how your words reflect you, you're not losing your voice. You're letting it rest. If these reflections feel like something you can return to, you're welcome to stay. Liking the video helps it reach others who may feel uneasy when identity loosens around language. And if you want to keep a steady space like this available, you can subscribe, not for opinion or explanation, but for companionship. If someone you care about seems quieter or simpler in how they speak lately, you're welcome to share this with them, only if it feels right. Words don't need to represent you to be spoken, they just need to respond, and then they can disappear.